So follicular development is something that we've created here that is involved with actual development of the egg in preparation for ovulation. So in the follicular phase of development, we have certain hormones that are being secreted. We have the FSH and the LH, the follicular stimulating hormone, and the luteinizing hormone that are being secreted for the preparation of ovulation. Before the actual phase, there's a specific step-by-step process, cell-to-cell process that takes place that we coin follicular development. If you have ever taken a histological graph and you're able to actually see the different cell types, they're located as such here. So first you begin with the primary oocyte that's enclosed with the primordial cell. Right, so the primordial cell is the follicular cell that encloses on a simple squamous layer. So this is called the primordial cell. So this is the first egg, right? So you don't have anything developed, but the actual cell, the oocyte, is enclosed in this egg on a simple squamous layer of the follicular cell. As FSH is being secreted, this leads to the actual proliferation of it. So if we grab the actual cell, in white we see the oocyte, and on the outer layer we have like the follicular cell. You can see that the egg is very synonymous to the actual entire follicular cell, the primordial cell. However, during the whole follicular phase, you have the specific hormones being secreted that stimulates the follicular cell to begin to divide. And now we have different layers, for specifically the granulosa and the thecal cell. So the next cell here, so primordial is specifically one single layer. So we'll look at it. So single layer, right? So single, simple squamous layer. Next, we have the primary follicle. So the primary follicle is two or more layers. And this has a cuboidal structure. So it's cuboidal. If you look at on a histological map under a microscope, you can see. Now you can actually also see the granulosa cells. So if I were to redraw this here as the second egg, so the egg again remains the same size, correct? Right? But now, if you actually look at the egg, the follicular cell, it becomes much denser. So during this phase here, you just have a presence of the granulosa cells that begin to help for the secretion of estrogen with the help of what other cell do you remember? The thecal cells, right? So this is the primordial, goes into the primary. Next, you have the production of these specific cavities that are being produced in the secondary follicular cell. So the secondary cells, now again, proliferation begins. Now you have the opening of these cavities. And this leads to the production of the actual presence of the central antrum. Central antrum. Which its main function is being surrounded by these cavities, right? So now, if you see the cell here, if I draw it a little bigger, you still have these granulosa layers now. Here, you have the egg in the middle, and now you have these little cavities that are beginning to open up, right? Preparing for ovulation. The final egg, the follicular cell, is called the Graafian follicle. Here, you can actually distinguish a clear separation of the egg and the actual follicle, including the granulosa cells and the thecal cells. So here, this is the most critical rate-limiting cell because during this phase, right before, you have ovulation, right? So right before ovulation, you have this larger cell known as the Graafian follicle. So you have, again, same process here. You have these different cavities that are created. And you have this tiny egg, again, still surrounded by some layers of the granulosa. However, the rest of this region is just empty space in green. until you see that LH spurge that's generated from the positive feedback loop from the estrogen. When that takes place, then this egg is shunted out and transplanted into the fallopian tube.